Welcome to the Hunter for BlazeLIMS video series. I am your host, Dennis DeBevick, Director of Technology with Cyberwolf Software. And in this video, we're going to give you a quick tour for the Hunter for BlazeLIMS application. Here, I have a screen inside my web browser. I'm running Internet Explorer 8, and I'm showing a series of applications that get to things like BlazeLIMS sample information, sample type configurations, log template configurations, and lot informations. For our quick tour, we're going to select the sample application. And here we have the Hunter Builder screen. The Hunter Builder screen has two areas, a place where I build my queries and an area where I can select my objects and functions. One of the things we do for our customers is we prepare some pre-prepared or global queries, and I can select one of those now. I'm going to use the SQC pivot. When I'm dealing with sample data, one of the things that I want to do is I want to be able to pivot my data. I want to be able to get one row of my data is a sample. I want to have my properties or test types as columns in my report with the results underneath. I want my limits to be pivoted, and I probably also want to chart those things. So the Hunter for BlazeLIMS application is cognizant of that, and that's one of the nice features of this application. So here, it brought a query back for me, but I've decided that I want to pull some additional fields. So how easy is it to modify a query? Well, I can grab an object and I can drop it where I want it. So now here I inserted area name. Maybe I insert customer name. Maybe I want to scroll down and pick something else like the sample status code and drop it. Maybe I want to drop that over here. And I might decide, you know what? No, I don't want that there. Let me move it over one. And here I go. So now I'm going to run this query. And one of the other features of Hunter is it has this Ask User checkbox. What that means is when I have a query, I can make it stop and ask the user or prompt the user to change for, in this case, the sample date. So maybe I want to go back a little bit further for my data. And I'll say accept there. And I'm going to take this second date. And maybe here, one of the other nice features of Hunter besides the Ask User is on some objects, I have this feature called lookup. So here I'm going to remove my values and do a lookup. And this is looking up sample types. So I'm going to say get lookup data, and here are the sample types inside of my database. To select one, I can just double click on it, and it brings it up, and I can say accept. So Hunter has a nice feature where on some objects like test types, sample types, etc., I can actually look up values. All right, so it's piping this data to Excel, which it does by default. And in this case, I'm in Excel 2010. And one of the things that gets shipped with the Hunter for BlazeLIMS application is an Excel add-in that allows me to pivot and chart my data. So right now, I have my data straight out of my database. And here, it's not really in a form that I really like to see. Here are all my properties, etc. So I really want to pivot and chart this data. So I have an add-in. It's called Hunter BlazeLIMS. And I click it and I say reprocess sample data. And what that does is it starts this process. So it brings up a dialog that allows me to, do I want to specify my own spec limits by the application prompting it for each property or test type? Do I want to chart properties? If so, what do I want to be on the charts? Do I want to do a histogram? And do I want to put property statistics on the chart? So I'm going to take my defaults here and say OK. And here it's doing a lot of machinations. And it will prompt me for some of my chart titles. And here, now, I have a completed workbook where I started with this data. It created a pivot table where one row represents a sample, and my properties and values are pivoted. It's calculated statistics for each of my properties, and it's also charted each one of my properties. Let's get one that is a little more interesting of a chart. There we go. So here's a chart, and so you can see The Excel add-in for the Hunter for BlazeLIMS application does a lot of pre-packaged nice things that most BlazeLIMS users would like to do with their data. Okay, so I'm going to close that up, and of course I can save this if I wanted to keep this data for later. I'm not going to. You'll also notice is that there's this yellow background here. Well, I started with a pre-packaged query and I made some changes, so Hunter's indicating to me that I might want to save this. So I'm going to, and I'm going to click Save, and I'm going to call it My Test Query 1. My Test Query 1. And you'll see I am the owner, and I'm going to click Save. And I'm going to close that up. And I'm going to actually clear out my query. So here, when I first go into Hunter, it looks like this. And now if I open my queries, we'll see I now have one called My Test Query 1. And this is the one that I started with a template query and I made it my own. So you can see there are lots of really nice features in here for BlazeLIMS users who need to retrieve, pivot, and chart data. Thank you for your time. If you want additional information or would like a demo, please contact Blaze Systems at sales@blazesystems.com or by phone. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thanks for watching the Hunter for BlazeLIMS series. For more information on Hunter for BlazeLIMS, please contact Blaze Systems at sales@blazesystems.com or phone number 302-733-7236.